Hanadie, reporting for Kids First. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with writer and actors David Earl and Chris Hayward about their new comedy sci-fi film, Brian and Charles. Mr. Earl and Mr. Hayward have undeniable on-screen chemistry. Brian and Charles is a quirky comedy that reminds us that even the most unconventional friendships have value. Let's talk with Mr. Earl and Mr. Hayward about Brian and Charles. Thank you, Mr. Earl, and thank you, Mr. Hayward, for joining me on the show. Question number 1. Mr. Earl, it's my understanding that you performed Brian and Charles on stage for many years before the film Brian and Charles. How did you know it was time to take this character to the big screen?
Well, we've been doing it. We've been doing Brian and Charles for 2 or 3. I've been doing Brian for quite a few years, then Brian and Charles for 2 or 3 years, and we kind of run out of steam. And we wanted to just make a short movie and put it on YouTube and then move on to the next project. But we really loved the characters. We wanted to just kind of immortalize them, so, to put it on YouTube. And then we made this short and it got a really lovely feedback. And then Film 4 said, do you want to try and make a movie? I went, yes, please. Yeah.
Mr. Hayward, the character Charles is such a simple yet dynamic character. As an actor, what was it like bringing this to life?
Well, it's quite difficult because it's basically a cardboard box. So I couldn't really see anything in it. I was always bumping into things. I was often tripping over. I had to have a lot of people to help me move me around and get me into position. So, yeah, it was a fun experience, but I couldn't really see anything while I was doing it.
A recurrent theme of this film is loneliness and friendship. What do you hope viewers learn about the companionship from watching Brian and Charles?
Well, I hope they learn that having a friend is the best thing you can have, and that friends are important.
Yeah, and I hope they giggle a lot.
Yeah, I hope they laugh their tummies off.
Yeah.
The film was shot in mockumentary style and is a sci-fi comedy that could have not been easy to pull off. But your team did an exceptional job. What challenges do you have to overcome to make this film?
Well, the weather in Wales where we filmed it was particularly bad because we filmed it in the winter in Wales. So there was a lot of bad storms and stuff sometimes. And for me, personally, it was a matter of just walking in a straight line was hard enough for me because I couldn't see anything as a robot.
I was fine.
Yeah.
I was fine.
That's good. You can't watch this film and not feel a connection to Brian and Charles. They feel so real. When creating these characters, where do you draw the inspiration from?
Good question. Where did we get our inspiration from?
Well, I mean, kind of, for instance, Eddie, we wanted to have a threat in the movie and an outside threat. And we'd both grown up in the countryside. So we sort of chat about what sort of person or people would have an interest in Charles and what would they do if they knew he existed. And so there were some people that we remembered from our past who might think about stealing him and destroying him. So, yeah.
If you can do this all over again, is there anything you would do differently?
I would wear some extra thick socks because my feet were always very cold. And I'd take some more food inside the box with me so I could eat while between takes.
I'd wear less socks because my feet were toasty.
We should have swapped socks.
The opposite.
Yeah. What would we do differently? I don't know really. I guess we've learned stuff along the way, but it feels like a lot of it is trial and error, and you're just following your gut and trusting your instinct and crossing your fingers. So probably not a lot different, really.
Brian and Charles have so many one-on-one interactions. Which Brian and Charles scene is your favorite?
Well, you can't really go wrong with just dancing together because that's just it's a lot of fun to perform, and it's so silly. And we knew it looked pretty silly. So that's just a matter of dancing. So, and anyone can do that.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite scenes is them just cooking lunch in the kitchen and not a lot happening, really. Just seeing a saucepan boiling and Charles waiting patiently.
Yeah, to eat some cabbage.
Yeah, so seeing them do the mundane things in life, I really enjoy.
Is there anything you would add to this film?
What would we add? I'd add some more food on the set so we could eat some more food.
Yeah, good question.
What do we add?
That's too good a question.
You know what I'd add practically is we had to get changed. Where we got changed in our costumes, it was a cow shed, and so the floor was always soaking wet. So we would be trying to get changed, balancing on one leg so to keep our costumes dry. So maybe I'd add a solid wooden floor to the set.
You know what? Yeah, I would add, because in between scenes it was really cold and damp there, and in between scenes I'd have to sit in this room in the cottage. It was cold and damp, so I'd add a nice warm room with a nice heater.
Yeah, or a nice big log fire. That's what I'd add.
Yeah.
So just like a nice, comfortable place to relax in between shots.
Exactly that. Yeah, but the producer Rupert didn't really care about.
He wanted us to
well-being. Yeah.
Okay. What advice do you have for aspiring filmmakers who aspire to create work in this genre?
Well, I would say just practice your craft as much as possible. So if you're a writer, you need to just keep writing and writing, just getting better and better at it, because that's the only way you're going to improve. And the same goes for, if you're a filmmaker, you just have to start filming stuff.
Last question. If our audience wanted to follow your journey as a writer, director, or producer, how would they do that?
I would say try and be yourself as much as possible. And now there are so many different ways to get noticed as well. Putting things on YouTube, online. There are so many ways you can make little short films and get yourself noticed. So I would explore all those different avenues.
Thank you for talking with me, Mr. Earl and Mr. Hayward, about Brian and Charles. Brian and Charles will be released in theaters June 17th, 2022. I'm Hanadie reporting for Kids First. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel to stay informed about upcoming films. Thank you. Bye.
I want to go to Honolulu.
Charles, what's he wearing?
It's my Hawaiian hula skirt.